Which ship would truly be considered the best PvE ship in Star Citizen? That's actually a rather broad question, and there is no straightforward answer as it seems. It depends heavily on what you, as the player, actually want to focus on. Are you transporting cargo, hauling large quantities of goods from one station to another? Are you handling box delivery missions and acting more like a courier? Are you practicing in FPS combat and looking for a ship that can support your activities effectively? Or are you simply trying to find the best possible ship for PvE space combat? Let's get one thing straight, there is no ship ideal for everything. There are flexible ships which are more accustomed to fill more roles, but the overall answer will end up being a little underwhelming, or perhaps even a bit too open-ended. Simply because, regardless of what activities you prefer, you're always going to start out small and slow. That's just how the game works for the most part. It's the structure of the game. Because either you don't have the resources to do large-scale trading, or you don't have enough reputation to do the high-end missions. A simple and practical way to approach this is by choosing a flexible starter or mid-sized ship. For example, the Aegis Titan Avenger is a great all-arounder for small-sized gameplay, or in general a starter gameplay. It can handle light combat and small-scale cargo missions, or stepping up in size and versatility, something like the RSI Zeus Mark II CL offers far more cargo space, better tools, more firepower, and improved durability. These ships give you a solid start, balancing your preferred role while still remaining flexible enough to pivot into other gameplay styles. Of course, when most players ask about the best PvE ship, they're usually thinking about combat, so let's go on with that. Dedicated combat ships, especially light fighters or fighters in general, are usually what players expect to hear about. There's a typical divide into three general categories: the light fighters, which are agile and ideal for one-on-one engagements; medium fighters, which offer a balanced mobility and firepower and are rather effective against both light and medium threats; and the heavy fighters, which sacrifice agility, usually in favor of armor or in some cases even firepower. Among these, the F7 series from the Anvil, especially the F7A and F7 Super Hornet variants, are often considered top-tier medium fighters, top-tier fighters in general. They're tough, highly maneuverable, and hit hard. If you prefer something a bit more agile and responsive, I will give you three light fighters. Anvil Arrow, very small, maneuverable, very light, and somewhat fragile. Then there's the Gladius, a bit tougher, a bit bigger, looking more like a militaristic ship. And of course the last is Alien variant, the Blade. This one deserves a mention as it has unique weapons, and it is actually somewhat bigger than the others, but still it is very competitive, very maneuverable, and all of these three ships will serve you quite well in agility, firepower, and sustainable combat on the light fighter scale. For those looking to go all in on heavy fighters, the F8C is probably one of the best single-seater heavy fighter choices to have, boasting 4 size 3 and 4 size 2 weapons, and it's also rather big, but it's capable. If we had to pick the best fighter, it would definitely be something from the F7 series, possibly F7A Mark II, as that is the most competitive in PvE and PvP. Or technically, all the F7 series ships are very competitive. Now let's move on to medium-sized ships. The picture changes slightly. These ships usually require at least one other crew member to operate at maximum efficiency. There are a few combat-focused ones like the Aegis Redeemer, a combat gunship that excels against small groups or small grouped enemies, or perhaps even some medium-sized targets. Another option would be the Crusader Spirit A1 bomber, which is more focused on ground assaults like taking out the bunkers or bunker guards, clearing out outposts, or wrecking some grounded ships. Other medium-sized ships like the Misk Freelancer or even Cutlass series offer a good balance between firepower and utility. Most of these aren't purely combat ships, but they can hold their own and offer some flexibility. So now that we move into the large ship category, most ships become hybrid platforms by design. They often include the dedicated turrets, multi-crew stations, and plenty of cargo space. Two strongest candidates here for combat would be the Drake Corsair and RSI Constellation series. These are capable of delivering massive damage, especially under direct control of the pilot. They're particularly effective against medium threats or perhaps even fighting something its size. You can absolutely tear through most PvE encounters with this ship. However, there's always a trade-off. and in this case its maneuverability. The ships are very large, and locking onto nimble fighters can be frustratingly slow. Even if they're capable of taking them down, you will still have to maneuver quite a bit to get some clear bursts in. Some of these large ships are also quite capable traders, some are explorers and few other options like refueling, but I'm guessing most are interested in the combat aspect of these large ships, as if you want to do some true trading you will pick Hercules series or perhaps the Caterpillar. And some of these ships are technically large or near sub-capital ships. And that's where we want to go next. Capital and sub-capital ships are generally not ideal for solo players. Their size, complexity and crew requirements mean that running them alone reduces their effectiveness significantly. However, this also depends on their role. Cargo haulers can usually be flown solo, but that's not true for every large ship. The truth is, there is no perfect ship that does everything well. There are ships that cover many roles, but still don't do everything. So players have to make their decision based on what kind of content they want to focus on. A good tip is to optimize your weapons based on your ship's hardpoints, like equipping powerful energy-based weapons, something like attritions, or matching your gear to your playstyle. So if you're going for small PvE combat ships, the F7A Mark II is likely the best option. Among medium-sized ships, your options are broad. You can pick from Zeus Mark IIs, Freelancer, Cutlass, or anything in the Spirit series, or anything in the medium-sized family actually. In the large category, you'd likely gravitate towards the Corsair or Constellation Taurus, especially if cargo transport is your thing. These are among the best solo players ships that can realistically be utilized, though anything larger than a fighter benefits greatly from extra crew members. If your focus is purely cargo, the best option overall would be the Crusader Hercules C2, for hauling between orbiting stations and mining stations. The Hull C is your only real option for trade between space stations, but it's not without serious risk or bugs. Hauling systems have plenty of quirks and edge cases that make them less reliable than they should be. For simple box delivery missions, all you really need is a starter ship with an interior or a cargo bay. The smaller, more agile ships, the easier it is to handle tight landings and quick movement near planets. If your aim is bunker clearing or FPS combat, some medical ships can be surprisingly useful. They help you recover from injuries and keep you going for longer. For mining, salvage, there's a decent range of choices. Just keep in mind that large ships always benefit from crew. And of course there are plenty of other ships. Explorers, missile platforms, gunships, science vessels, but most people will be engaging with core content like combat, trade, mining, FPS. And in the end, your choice has to reflect your own goals. The best combat ship isn't going to be the best cargo hauler, and every multi-role ship comes with its trade-offs. So yeah, it is hard to make a dedicated choice, especially if we have so many different types of content which might be available for dynamic events, for mission types we want to do, and our moods might change. So usually it is best to pick something a bit more flexible to start out with and then change into more specialized ships if need be. But anyway, don't forget to like, subscribe, and thanks for watching!